My name is 법-환산스님, and I am the disciple of Sun Master Songdam, the most venerated Buddhist master in Korea today. Now, I'm aware that not all of you probably know how to meditate, and even if you have been trained, you probably haven't been trained as specifically as we do in monasteries. So what I would like to do now is go over the steps for performing meditation and to clear up any misunderstandings that we might have about it. Now, the teachings that I have to share today are the teachings of Sun Master Songdam, who, as I mentioned, is universally regarded in Korea as being without peer the greatest spiritual teacher within Buddhism. It's very simple. There are three elements to performing meditation. The first is posture. So why don't we assume correct meditation posture? So you all know how to do that. Take one heel, tuck it in, and place your other foot on the opposite thigh. Okay. Straighten your back. Take your right hand, the edge of your right hand. Don't raise your hand because I raised my hand. Take the edge of your right hand and place it against your lower belly, and then just let it rest. Do not hold your hand up in the air. Just let it rest. Take your left hand, place it on top of your right hand. Your palm should be facing the ceiling. All right? I'll show you. Your hands will be like this. And then you have your thumb tips meet one another to create a nice, elegant rainbow shape. Okay? Now raise both shoulders to your ears, roll back, and then drop. Tuck in your chin slightly so that the crown of your head rises to the ceiling. Take the tip of your tongue and place it lightly against the roof of your mouth behind your upper row of teeth. Look straight ahead. Keep your eyes open. Now, because your chin is tucked in slightly, your gaze, your eyesight will naturally fall on the floor about 3 meters in front of you. So you just look forward, but don't stare at any point in particular. Don't stare at any pattern in the carpet or some object in front of you. Just look forward with what's called a soft gaze. The second is breathing. Now, when we begin meditation, we begin with what's called preparation breathing. So why don't we do that now? Now, in preparation breathing, what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in as much as we possibly can through our nose and completely fill our chest. Once our chest is completely full, we're going to hold our breath. We're going to hold our breath until it's slightly uncomfortable. And when it becomes slightly uncomfortable, we're going to exhale through our mouth, and we're going to squeeze out all of the air in our lungs. Okay? So why don't we try that together? So inhale through your nose. Hold. Then exhale through your mouth. Remember this procedure. Inhale through your nose, fill your chest, hold, exhale through your mouth. Okay? This may seem like nothing, but what we've done is we've learned a very, very important thing for dealing with difficulties in life. When we get upset, when someone says something to you that gets you really angry or hurts your feelings, when we have a test coming and we feel really anxious and tense, what happens is our thoughts go crazy. We start thinking about this and that, and we start creating movies in our minds, and we start worrying ourselves and upsetting ourselves, and it's this endless cycle of getting ourselves upset. And what we've learned here is a way to stop being upset. A very, very simple way. It has to be simple, because when we're upset, it's hard to control our thoughts. So this is what I want you all first to remember is when we get upset, breathe. We go to the posture first. If you're standing, just stand straight and balanced. That balances your mind, and then do this preparation breathing. Breathe in through your nose, hold, and breathe out through your mouth. Do it over and over and over again until the disturbing emotion passes by. This is the best way to deal with emotional suffering. An emotion is a wave that passes through our minds and bodies. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. If we can just stay calm and let it pass, like wind through a tree, then we won't be disturbed by it. I highly recommend that you try this, especially before a test. When you're sitting at your desk and you're terrified, just breathe. Okay, once again, straighten up. Now when we hold this posture, try to hold it with minimal tension. What I mean by that is only use the muscles that you need to hold up your body and relax everywhere else. Relax your neck, relax your shoulders, relax your chest. Just hold yourself up. Okay, and the rest of your body relaxes. Now once again, the preparation breathing. We inhale through the nose, inhale. Hold, then exhale through the mouth. When we breathe out, imagine that you're breathing out all of your worries, all of your stress, all of your useless thought, all of the waste products and poisons in your body. Imagine that you're just cleaning yourself out, your mind and your body. Okay? Once again, inhale. Hold. Then exhale through your mouth. Now our bodies are more relaxed. Our minds are a little bit more clear. Feels a little bit better. Now we can begin meditating. And we begin meditating with a special form of breathing, which I call in English abdominal breathing. It's also called breathing with your dantian, which in Korean is called danjeon, which I assume you can all understand. Okay, with abdominal breathing, we're only going to breathe with our nose now. Now, when we breathe in slowly and gently, very relaxed. And as we breathe in through our nose, keep your chest still. Don't move your chest, just move your belly. Just push your belly out a little bit. Not like, not like you've completely filled your stomach. Just as you breathe in, push your belly out a little bit till it feels like it's about 80% full. And then once you feel that, you hold your breath for 2 to 3 seconds. And then as you breathe out through your nose again, draw in your lower belly toward your spine. It's as if you're pulling your belly button back toward your spine. Okay? So why don't we practice? So breathe in, hold, then breathe out. Breathe in, hold, then breathe out. When we do abdominal breathing, it's also called belly breathing. It's like we're breathing with our bellies. We're going to breathe with the feeling that the air goes through our nose and goes all the way down into our belly. And it fills our bellies up. And then when we exhale, we squeeze the air out of our belly and it comes out through our nose. Now biologically, the air is not really going down into our belly, but we're going to do it with that feeling. Okay? Once again, why don't we keep practicing? Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Now what will happen for a lot of you, because you're Korean students and you study too much, is that you will, as you do this breathing, you'll relax so much that you'll start to yawn. That's okay. That's okay. It just means that your body is relaxing. Okay? So breathe in. Hold. Then breathe out. If you can practice this and get good at it, this is the way to breathe while you're studying. When you're studying and you feel really, really tired and you want to take a break, don't go out for a cup of coffee, don't eat a candy bar. Just sit in your chair, or if possible, lie down and just do this breathing, and it's like recharging a battery. You'll recharge much more efficiently, your head will clear, your emotions will calm down, And then you can go back to studying or doing whatever it is you need to do. Okay? Now we'll engage the third part of meditation, which is the most important part, and that is thought, the regulation of our thinking. What do we think about while we meditate? And in Sun Buddhist meditation, the distinctive feature of it is that we meditate on what's called in Korean a hwadu. A hwadu basically means a question that we will ask ourselves. Okay? The question, the hwadu, that Sun Master Songdam most often teaches is the hwadu 이해하고. Now I assume you understand what that means in Korean. In English it means, what is this? What is this that drags my body? What is this that moves and directs my body? When I get angry, what is this that feels the anger? When I get sad, what is it within me that's suffering, that sadness? When someone calls my name, what is it within me that instantly recognizes the sound of my own name and pays attention? Now there's a way to ask this question to ourselves. We're going to coordinate it with our breathing. And what we do is we breathe, when we're going to do this posture, this abdominal breathing, we breathe in, we hold, and then when we breathe out, with our out-breath, as we breathe out, in our minds, we ask, 이해하고. And we take that last syllable, G-O, ko, and we drag it out to the end of our exhalation. Okay? So why don't we try that out loud? So we're going to try that together. So breathe in, hold, and then together, 이해하고. It's going to feel a little bit unfamiliar at the beginning. Okay, once again, breathe in, hold, and then together, 이해하고. What we want to do is practice it until 이해하고, the hwadu, becomes one with our breathing. So what will happen then is if we do abdominal breathing, we'll immediately think of 이해하고. If we do 이해하고, immediately our bodies will begin to do our abdominal breathing. Now at the beginning, the most difficult thing is we keep thinking of other things. Other thoughts pop into our mind. That's okay. You know, in the space of doing 이해하고, we may think of other things. That's okay. Just let the other thoughts flow by. Let them pass by and just keep thinking about 이해하고 with each breath. Okay? So why don't we try that again? Breathe in. Hold. And then together, 이해하고. Now the important thing here is not to do it like a machine. Not to do it mechanically. Don't go 이해하고, 이해하고, 이해하고. We have to do it with great honesty and sincerity and urgency. And when we do, when we ask ourselves this question with that kind of sincerity, we create within our minds what's called the state of doubt. Now, doubt is not worrying about things. Doubt is not like, well, is the Buddha really enlightened? Do we really get reborn after dying? Doubt is a state of being blocked, a state of wanting to know the unknowable, of wanting to see the invisible. The state of doubt is most like when we lose our keys. Imagine that you lost the keys to your room or to your house, and you think, where is it? And you look everywhere for it, and it's nowhere. You just cannot find your keys. So finally, all you're left with is a question in your mind. Where are my keys? Where are my keys? In this case, in the case of Sun meditation, the key that we've lost is our own selves. We are not enlightened to our own selves. So we're going to ask ourselves, 이해하고, what is this? With that same urgency, with that same deep questioning. Okay? Why don't we try again? So breathe in, hold, and then together, 이해하고. Now I want to ask all of you to continue to do this meditation for the rest of this Dharma assembly, as I continue to share with you the teachings of Sun Master Songdam. Just meditate as you are. The meditation that you do now is the most important thing that you do in this Dharma assembly, far more important than whatever information that I share with you. According to Sun Master Songdam and the Sun Buddhist tradition, if you go to a Dharma assembly and meditate the whole way through and just focus on Imoko, and you don't remember anything else that happened, you've actually done the best you possibly can at a Dharma assembly. The point is to meditate during this, because Sun Buddhism, our native Korean Buddhist tradition, is a meditation tradition. Okay? So please continue to meditate. And as you meditate, I will continue to share the teachings. Now, I've given a lot of thought to how these teachings might be helpful specifically for young students who are working and studying hard in the educational system. And one of the things that I hear, because I actually teach a lot of college students, and I've been doing that for the last couple of years, and I've met with a lot of college students, and I've met with a lot of young people, both Korean and international. And one of the things that I most often hear from young people is this idea or this worry that I'm so bad at relationships. I don't know how to connect with people. I'm having a hard time dealing with people around me. When I try to express my thoughts and feelings, people seem to misunderstand. They don't seem to get me. I'm having a hard time communicating with people. I'm having a hard time forming relationships, friendships, dealing with my peers and my teachers and so forth. Now, this is the most understandable thing. And what I want to do today is to show how the Sun meditation teachings and practices can help us with this very, very important thing that we're trying to learn as we struggle through the educational system. See, the thing is that as students, as we grow up and go through elementary school and middle school and high school and college and then perhaps to graduate school, the thing that's happening over the years is that we are being forced to meet more and more people, to interact with more and more people. We're forced to create relationships or to find ways to communicate with or talk with people that we may not always want to be around. What we find as we grow older, as we grow into adulthood, is that not everyone thinks the same. Not everyone thinks the same way that I do. Not everyone believes what I believe. Not everyone has the same values and attitudes. As we grow older, as we come to places like Dongguk University, which draws students from all over Korea and from all over the world actually, we find ourselves having to deal with people who are really very different from ourselves, who think in ways that we cannot imagine, who behave in ways that we would never do. They do things that we would never do. And then going beyond that, we may find ourselves having very difficult and negative experiences. We may find ourselves with people saying things, doing things, behaving things, holding beliefs that we find unpleasant or even offensive. We may even look at the behavior of others and find it unethical, even criminal. And so we think, well, what are we supposed to do in situations like that? And I think one thing to bear in mind is that you don't need to worry so much. Dealing with other people, learning how to form positive, beneficial human relationship is a lifelong process. It's a lifelong challenge. We do it throughout our lives. It's something that we have to practice and keep getting good at from the cradle to the grave. Okay, so there's no one day where suddenly it's not a problem anymore. If you talk to anyone who's ever worked in any kind of organization, if you've worked in a volunteer group or played on a sports team or joined an extracurricular club, if you've had a job, if you've volunteered somewhere like a hospital or a research institute, if you've actually gone out into the world and tried going to a corporation or a company. The thing that everyone with any kind of work experience, any kind of organizational experience tells you is that the work is not difficult. It's working with other people that's difficult. Look out at the world. If you look out at the world, all of the nations in the world, what we see is that on every single national border in the world, every single national border in the world is lined with soldiers and military weapons. That's how hard it is for people to get along with each other. So as young students, if we're having a hard time with our relationships, this is natural. And what I want to suggest here today is that in addition to our academic studies, we as students might want to learn how to manage our human relationships and practice it as much as we can while we're in school, while we have the time to, so that when we graduate and we go out in the real world, we are armed, we are prepared not only with academic knowledge, but with experience in dealing with other people. So, that being said then, what does the Buddha have to say about forming human relationships? Now within Mahayana Buddhism, which is the form of Buddhism that Korean Buddhism is, there is a broad acceptance of the endless variety and diversity of life. And this acceptance is taught in terms of equality. Now often we think of equality as everyone being the same, thinking the same things, doing the same things, holding the same opinion. But from the Mahayana perspective, making everything the same is not equality. Okay? And it's also impossible because things by nature are different. Not everyone has to be the same height, not everyone has to wear the same clothes and have the same hair color. Within Mahayana Buddhism, the idea is to understand, to accept each thing and every person and every living being equally as a Buddha. All living things, all things are Buddhas, and we accept them in their form as they are. So if you meet a tall person, accept the tallness of the person. If you meet a short person, accept that the person is short. If you meet someone who's very wild and spontaneous, accept their wildness and spontaneity. If you meet someone who's quiet and withdrawn, accept that too. What this means for you as students, in a very practical way, that's the theory of equality from the Mahayana Buddhist perspective. What this means for you as students, what I would like to suggest to you as students is to learn to meet and interact with as many people as possible, to widen the circle of your acquaintances as much as you possibly can. Do not avoid other people. Do not only seek out people who you feel personally comfortable with. At this age, from, let's say, elementary school through college to graduate school, we learn most about ourselves by dealing with other people. At this age, when we're this young, we are constantly comparing ourselves with others, contrasting ourselves with each other, competing with one another. We learn about ourselves by how we respond to people. So if that's the case, we should give ourselves the most rich, diverse, abundant experience of social relationships as we possibly can. This is something that I very much want to recommend to you. Now, what happens often for students is that we struggle with shyness, that it's hard to approach people. And this is universal. I believe even in the United States, 80% of people, 80% of Americans will describe themselves as being shy. And I would imagine that in Korea, that even more people will consider themselves shy. I myself struggled with shyness when I was your age. I was very socially unsure of myself, and I wish at that time that someone had told me to do this. If you feel difficulty in meeting with and interacting with other people, Treat it like any other academic problem. Treat it like anything else you learn in school. Get a book. Go on the internet. There's so many good self-help books out there, so many good websites, so many good support groups. Make it an academic problem. Go after it. Learn how to talk with and communicate with other people. This is something that I very much want to recommend to you. So often when we're young, we give ourselves labels too quickly. We'll say, well, I'm a loner. You know, I don't get along with other people. I'm different than other people. And we excuse ourselves from learning how to be with other people. But when we do that, what's really happening is we're not giving ourselves the experiences that we need for emotional growth. We need to interact with other people to grow and become mature and to become flexible enough and adaptable enough to deal with life in society. Especially in these days, I think that there's a tendency for people who are very shy or who feel uncomfortable with people to retreat into the internet and to only meet with people, only meet directly with people that they feel totally comfortable with. And the problem with that is that you are creating a situation in your life where there are only very, very few people that you're comfortable with and only very, very few places that you're comfortable in. And what you're doing is you're creating a prison for yourself. There is this wide, broad earth in front of us, and you're limiting yourself to only a very few places where you can go. You may feel like you're rejecting others, you may feel like you're cutting others off, but what you're really doing is you're cutting yourself off. You're putting yourself into a very, very narrow space, and you're creating circumstances for great suffering. So now, while we're young, in addition to the academic learning that we do in school, learn these important social skills for interacting with other people. I really want to recommend to you that you take on life in the university like an actor taking on roles. Don't limit yourself to one way of behaving. Meet with a lot of behaviors. Change the way that you behave. If you're quiet, be wild and spontaneous. If you're kind of wild and impulsive, then learn to be quiet. If you're not used to speaking your opinion, then learn to speak your opinion. If you're very talkative, then learn to listen. I encourage you to change your appearance. Play with your appearance, play with the way you talk, play with the way you dress. In Mahayana Buddhism and in Sun Buddhism in particular, one sign of enlightenment is that if you become fully enlightened, they say that you can choose what kind of body you'll be born in the next life. If you're enlightened, you can say, well, okay, in the next life, I'm going to become, a famous singer, or I'm going to become president, or, I'm going to become a talk show host or something. That's a kind of, that's a spiritual teaching, but it reflects the basic attitude of Mahayana Buddhism. That's something that even though we're not enlightened, even though we're not spiritual masters, we can bring into our own lives. We can change who we are in front of the world over and over and over again. I encourage you, when I teach college students, what happens is that every semester the girls change the color of their hair and their hairstyle, so when they come back I can't recognize them. But I think that's wonderful. Play with how you can appear, play with how you approach people, play with how you present yourself. And through this experience, you will know what's good for you, what's natural to you, what's comfortable for you. This is the time in your life when you are allowed to focus entirely on learning about yourself. So seize that opportunity. Be bold. Don't be afraid of social mistakes. Don't be heartbroken by social embarrassment. Just get up again. You're too young to judge yourself yet. You're too young to claim that you know everything that you're capable. You have far more possibility and potential than you realize. You just need to give yourself permission to go out there, make mistakes, make a fool of yourselves, get up again, learn about not only who you are now, but all the people that you can be. So this is something that I very much want to recommend to you. In both Eastern or in both Asian and Western cultures, it's often said that life is a play, a theater, a drama. If life is drama, then when you're young, be dramatic. Then we also say that life is a dream. If life is a dream, then dream. This is what I very much would like to recommend for you, and this is what I wish that someone had told me when I was your age. Now, that having been said, now that I've encouraged you to widen the circle of your acquaintances, to experiment with your behavior and your appearance and your lifestyle, and to meet as many people as possible, I would like to qualify that with another of the Buddha's teachings. When it comes to choosing close friends, I think the Buddha has some very valuable advice for us. It's quite the opposite when we're choosing close friends. The Buddha asks us, because we're not enlightened, because we're just beginners at spiritual practice and at life, the Buddha teaches us that we ought to form what he calls admirable friendships. And what that means is we form close friendships with those who have something that we can admire. I'm going to sort of paraphrase, roughly quote what he said. He said, form admirable friendships with those who are consummate, those who are outstanding in virtue, so that you can imitate their virtue and learn their virtue. Form admirable friendships with those who are outstanding in confidence and conviction, so you can imitate their confidence and conviction and learn their confidence and conviction. Form admirable friendships with those who are outstanding in good judgment, who know how to understand situations and people, so that we can imitate their good judgment and learn their good judgment from them. So often at this age, when we're in high school, college, and even in graduate school, we form friendships with those we find attractive. We form friendships with those we have things in common, that think the same way that we do, that behave the same way that we do. We don't often tell ourselves to look for something to admire. And when we do admire things in other people, it tends to be things like we admire their looks, or their taste in clothing, or their talent, or their intelligence, or their ability. All of those things are fine. It's only natural to kind of like those things in other people. But what the Buddha tells us is to form friendships with those people who have something in their character, in their integrity, that we can admire. Now, I want to tell you from personal experience that I have found that the Buddha's teaching is very true. When I look back at the friends that I had when I was your age, and the friends that I still have now, the friends that have remained with me from my college days are not the friends that I had the most fun with. They are not the friends that I spent the most amount of time with. The friends that remain with me now are actually friends that I respected and admired. They had something that I envied in them, something that I wanted to learn from them. So even though in college I wasn't very close with them, I grew close with them over the years because they had this element in them that I admired and respected. This is the way, according to the Buddha, to form long-lasting, lifelong, productive, really enriching friendships. And this is something that I very much want to recommend to you. That when you choose your friends, choose carefully. Choose those in whom you have something that really you can respect. And taking that one step further, I think that the Buddha's advice on friendship can also extend to romance. Now, beginning in, these days, beginning in elementary school and middle school and high school and college, we as students begin to learn how to date, how to form intimate relationships. And this is something that we're just, no one really teaches us how to do this. We're just sort of thrown out there and we just kind of follow what other people do. And the overwhelming tendency is to be drawn to people who we find just personally or physically attractive, or that we feel compatible with. But I think that the Buddha's advice on friendship extends to this too, to this special kind of friendship, that when we choose our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our lovers, whatever you want to call it, that we ought to choose or try to choose people in whom there's something we can admire, something we can learn from. And in this respect, I would like to introduce another Korean Buddhist concept that can be very helpful, which is the concept of the doban, the friend with whom we share a path. Now, in traditional Korean Buddhism, a doban is someone that you practice with. For monks, it's people that we meditate with, fellow monks. And the idea is that we are friends on the common path to enlightenment. Now, maybe you as students are not committed to enlightenment yet. But even so, I think this idea can be transferred to our lives as students, that we might want to choose partners who have similar values and similar aspirations. And the reason for that is this. As I mentioned, this time that we're in school is precious because it is the one time, the last time, if we're in college and graduate school, where we can focus completely and only on learning and developing ourselves and on discovering our hidden talents and possibilities. So because this, never again will we have a time like that. After we come out of school, we have to work for a living, we have to do all of these different things, and we don't have as much time to devote to developing ourselves. That being said, we want to choose friends and partners who can help us, who can bring out the best in us, and we want to be able to do that for them. I think that this is a fair way to present the Buddha's teaching, that we want to be close with people who help us to become the kind of people that we want to be. And we want to do the same for those people that we are closest to. We want to help them become the people that they want to be. This is what it would mean to be a doban for students who might not actually be pursuing enlightenment per se. So this is something that I very much want to encourage all of you to do, to really seize this opportunity, this last opportunity to work exclusively on ourselves. Now, at the beginning of this lecture, I mentioned that learning sun meditation practice and applying sun meditation teachings to our lives as students can help us in our lives after graduation. And I would like, in conclusion, to elaborate on that. The distinctive feature of the modern university educational system is that we are mostly focused as students on learning about the world. Each of you has a major, and through that major we learn about some part of the world. But our modern educational system does not include a system for learning about ourselves individually. There is nothing in our coursework, in our classes, in our textbook that teaches us how to learn who we are, what we are individually, what we're supposed to do with our lives. There is no system in place. The university educational system is extremely sophisticated and complicated and precise and efficient and effective. But when it comes to learning about who we are individually as people, what we're supposed to believe, what we're supposed to pursue, we're not taught anything about that method. We're just thrown out there and we learn by trial and error. So what I would like to propose here is that we need that system. That in this time we need to learn more than just about the world. We need to learn about ourselves. And the fortunate thing when you're living in Korea or a country like Korea that has Buddhism is that we don't have to invent such a system. The system already exists. The system for learning about ourselves, discovering ourselves, is Buddhism. The purpose of Buddhism is to learn about ourselves, is to ultimately become enlightened to ourselves. And through Buddhist teachings and practices, we can learn to develop what are called core beliefs and values that will guide us throughout the rest of our lives. If we don't have a clear set of core beliefs and values, then after graduation, it doesn't matter how smart we are. It doesn't matter how much we know. If we don't know what we want to do, where we're supposed to go, and what we believe in, we're going to feel very helpless. And often we may even be feeling helpless right now. In this respect, I think that Buddhism can be a very, very useful and even necessary added component to the educational experience that we're now having at this time in our lives. What Buddhism is, what sun meditation does, is it activates hidden wisdom within us. There is wisdom, according to Buddhist teachings, hidden within each of us. And this wisdom is like an internal guidance system. It's like an internal navigation system. Okay, and how this wisdom works is like this. This internal guidance system, when we're going in the right direction, when we're doing what we're supposed to do, when we're doing and acting in the way that will make us the best that we possibly can be, this internal guidance system has a green light that glows. It just says, go. Just keep going. But when we fall off course, when we start to engage in behavior or hold thoughts or hold on to emotions that will harm us, that will make us less than what we can possibly, less than what we can possibly be, it starts to flash red and it warns us. The more we meditate, the better this internal navigation system becomes. It becomes faster, it becomes more sensitive, it becomes more precise. Our true teacher is this hidden wisdom, is this internal navigational system. This internal navigational system will bring us, will take us where we need to go. Sun meditation, as I said, activates that system. It turns it on and it fuels it, it gives it the energy to do its work. As we grow up, we're going to have to face difficult times. We're going to have to face suffering, whether we want to or not. And we have a choice. We can let our personal suffering break us, twist us up, make us shrink. Or if we're armed with sun meditation, if we're armed with an internal navigational system, we can take our suffering and learn from it so that our suffering makes us greater, makes us bigger, more expansive, able to encompass more of the world. This is the choice that sun meditation teachings offers to us, and this is it is to share these teachings that I've come to you today. Okay, I will continue to try to share how these teachings can help students like yourselves in your lives as they're going today. Okay, then. Thank you very, very much for listening. Very